Gamstar Insurance Company comes as a savior. At IGI Gamstar Insurance Company, we insure against accidents like vehicles, aviation, marine, fire outbreaks, and medical, property loss and damage. At IGI Gamstar, we give priority to settlement of genuine claims. For further information, visit Gamstar Insurance Company House at 79 Daniel Goddard Street or call +220-422-6021 or 422-5257. IGI Gamstar Insurance Company, the nation's insurer of choice.
Good evening from Banjul and welcome to the news. We begin with the headlines. The safety of non-conventional vessels plying the Gambia's territorial waters dominates proceedings at a forum held under the aegis of the Gambia Maritime Administration. Civil society organizations from across the sub-regional economic bloc ECOWAS made to shore up community participation in the implementation of ECOWAS Community Development Program. World leaders gather in Rome, Italy to raise an estimated 300 million euros for 11 million people affected by drought and famine in East Africa. And Norwegian investigators dissect a 1,500-page manifesto allegedly authored by the man accused of killing dozens of people for clues. These stories and much more coming ahead in the news. I am Fatou Kamara. Thank you for joining us. The safety of non-conventional vessels flying the Gambia's territorial waters is the subject of a 3-day retreat organized by the Gambia Maritime Administration in partnership with the Department of Fisheries and the International Maritime Organization. The forum will also discuss the importance of intersectorial collaboration in the drive to prevent maritime pollution. Samuel Barr has more.
Months ago, a stakeholders forum was held to validate the draft merchant shipping and marine pollution bills. This latest meeting, organized by the Gambia Maritime Administration, has the ultimate objective of ensuring the safety of maritime transport on clean waters and the prevention of marine pollution on Gambian waters.
The Gambia National Assembly will introduce regulations that are not only modern but comprehensive and all-inclusive, which will ensure and improve the safety of life and cargo as well as crew on the territorial waters of the Gambia.
We are here these 3 days to ensure that you get a proper understanding of the contents of the IMO's safety regulations for inland water vessels, including fishing vessels which are operating in Africa.
The director of the Gambia Maritime Administration recognized the invaluable support of his agency's board of directors and the Gambia Ports authorities for their support in the area of capacity building. The International Maritime Organization lead consultant Alexander Boabeng spoke on the need for Gambia's maritime stakeholders to acquire knowledge and understanding of the contents of the IMO model safety regulations.
There are vessels operating, carrying passengers and cargo, which must be regulated. And the first question we have to pose is, what is a non-convention vessel? A non-convention vessel is a vessel which, by virtue of its size, type, and trading limits, the IMO conventions would not normally apply.
The maritime expert cited the recent sea accidents in Ghana and Russia, which according to him were due to failure to meet international regulatory standards. Fatou Sose Jallow, on behalf of the Minister of Fisheries, Water Resources and National Assembly Matters, stressed the need for training and capacity building for fishermen in order to enhance safety at sea. The use of non-conventional crafts for fishing, according to her, has resulted to over 24,000 annual deaths in fishing-related activities across the globe.
Safety at sea, therefore, implies continuous education, training and equipment, programs taking into account agreed materials, equipment, standards and guidelines. This implies the fact that, in essence, disaster prevention and management issues are the crux of safety at sea.
Dr. Njogu Ba, Minister for Works, Construction and Infrastructure, equally underlined the need to keep our water safe and unpolluted.
The significance of this seminar is twofold. Firstly, it addresses the safety and security of small vessels on Gambian waters and the prevention of the environment, the protection of the environment from marine pollution. The numerous non-conventional vessels, fishing boats, pleasure yachts, small passenger cargo vessels, etc., that ply our waters and the large volumes of passengers and cargo that are transported as a result make it imperative to improve the safety of maritime transport.
Our stakeholders gather to discuss ways of improving the safety of Gambian waters. It is hoped that seminar participants would gather in-depth knowledge of the IMO regulations and fully understand its implications on the Gambia's maritime community. For GRTS News, I am Samuel Ba.
The former Secretary General of the United Nations and board chairman of the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa has said that the survival of the world's 1 billion most vulnerable and weakest people depends on the quick identification of answers to hunger. Kofi Annan was delivering the 27th Frank McDougall Memorial Lecture at the FAO headquarters in Rome. Francis Mendy was listening and he now tells us more.
Ladies and gentlemen and dear friends, I understand that some of my former colleagues were bemused and a little amused when I announced my decision to get involved with agriculture when I stepped down as Secretary General. I can see why the move from a Secretary General to Farmer Kofi was met with smiles. It was perhaps not the most obvious choice for me, but I know this audience, above anyone else, understands both the seriousness and the challenge and the urgency of finding solutions.
The former top international civil servant began his lecture with touch on rising food prices, long-term trends, challenges for the FAO and benefits that come with higher food prices, with a suggestion that food and nutrition continue to lie at the heart of the injustice that encouraged the founding fathers of the FAO to conceive the arm of the United Nations, tasked with the responsibility of ensuring there is enough food to feed the world. Rising food prices, Kofi Annan continued, have also brought greater competition from heavily subsidized agro or biofuels. The board chairman of the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa also identified the unsustainable exploitation of dwindling water resources as a factor responsible for the 2/3 cut in grain produce in Saudi Arabia.
The global population has just passed 7 billion. The latest report from the UN Population Division warns that numbers may not stabilize at 9 billion, as it forecast only 2 years ago, but could reach 10 billion. At the same time, greater prosperity in developing countries will see 3 billion people move up the food chain, an expanding middle class with a growing appetite for meat and dairy products. Grain, once used to feed people, is increasingly being switched to feeding animals.
The increase in food prices is widely blamed for some of the food-related problems confronting the world, but Annan is of the view that the extraordinary way in which they have risen is to blame. But the phenomenon is also a blessing in disguise, according to the former UN boss. He said, although the suggestion may be controversial in some quarters, there is a strong case to be made that food prices had to be rebalanced, provided volatility is tackled and the vulnerable protected. Africa was left out in the Green Revolution that liberated Asia from the clutches of hunger and malnutrition. But the continent, according to Annan, has the